Hey, what's your password? Can I use that? I promise I won't remember it or write it down or give it to anyone. Hello, everyone. It's Miss Mann, your Learning Center specialist. We are going to have our digital citizenship assignment, which is called Password Power Up. You like that? And it is going to focus on passwords, which I know you are familiar with, but we're going to learn how to create strong ones and learn why it's so important to um, have a strong password and one that you can remember. All right, let's take a look. Essential question: how can a strong password help protect your identity? Our learning objectives: one, we're going to define the term password and describe its purpose. Two, understand why a strong password is important. And three, practice creating a memorable and strong password. So let's think about this. To protect something is to restrict who can access it. Again, to protect something is to restrict who can access what you want to protect. Question for you: what is something in your life that you take steps to protect? What is something in your life that you try to protect? Some examples might be a diary, a bike, maybe a toy, some dinero, some money, or your personal information on your computer. Question two: how do you protect these items? Well, if you chose something like a diary, you could hide it. Your bike, maybe you lock up your bike. Your toy or a toy or money, you could keep in a safe place. And of course, passwords you would use to protect your online information, your personal private information. Question three: what might happen if you aren't careful with your passwords? For example, if you gave Miss Mann your password, what might happen? Well, some examples might include you might lose your money or possessions, people knowing your private information and what they could do with that. They could steal your identity, or called identity, that's called identity theft. And there are many unknown future consequences. So many unknown things that could happen in the future. So, exactly, what is a password? Password is a string of letters, symbols, and numbers that you can use to restrict who can access something digital. Why is it important? It's important to understand why you need to take steps to protect yourself, especially online. So, some tips on creating passwords to help you protect your personal information online. One, start with a memorable phrase. We'll get into what a phrase is and how to do that a little bit later in the lesson. Two, only your parents or another trustworthy adult should know your password. Okay. Number three, never use any private identity information uh, from your password. For example, um, your address, phone number, social security number, your birth date, those are private identity pieces of information that you don't want to use within your password. Okay? Create passwords with at least 8 characters is really good. And number five, use letters, numbers, and symbols in your password. A few symbols, examples of symbols you can see here, what they are on the screen. Okay, so these are 5 tips on creating strong passwords. Let's go over some scenarios. So I'm going to give you a scenario, and then you are going to tell me what could happen. So Maya forgets her phone on the bus. Maya, if someone found it and figured out her password to unlock it, then what could happen? One possible outcome: if someone figured out how to unlock her phone or unlock her password, then they could see her messages, use her apps, they could pretend to be her. They could see all of her information on her phone and learn about the other people in her life as well. Let's go to scenario number 2. Margarita goes over to her friend Asia's house to play an online video game. After she leaves, her gaming profile is still saved. Asia's little brother Ben turns on the game and sees it. If Ben figured out Margarita's password, then what could happen? If Ben figured out her video game password, then he could pretend to be her online and he could possibly ruin her reputation. Did you come up with something like that? Scenario number 3. It's our last one. Thomas uses an app on his phone to pay bills from his bank account. If someone figured out his password to the app, then what could happen? Well, if someone figured out his banking password and username, then they could steal money from his account. They could wipe out his money, steal all his money. In all these scenarios and examples, Maya, Margarita, and Thomas, they all could have had their important, private, personal information be no longer private. And someone could share all this information with others and use it to pretend to be them. Okay? These identities could be what we call stolen. Okay? This is why we need to create a strong and memorable password. So again, refreshing our memory, some tips. 1, start with a memorable phrase. 2, only your parents or trustworthy person should know your password. 3, never use any private identity information in your password, such as your phone number, birthday. 4, create passwords with at least 8 characters. And 5, use letters, numbers, and symbols in your password. So let's learn about a cool way how to set up a password using a phrase. Hopefully you'll like this example. But first, what's a phrase? Well, a phrase is a group of words that go together and are easy to remember. Again, a phrase is a group of words that go together and are easy to remember. You might remember certain phrases from a song. It could be a line from a song, or a quote, or a book, or just something that you make up that you kind of always say, your own mantra, for example. Let's take a look at what we've created, or what I've created. All right, here are some examples of a phrase or a group of words that go together. There's no way I'm kissing a frog. Okay. Are we there yet? My teacher, Miss Mann, is woke. You just need to have a phrase you can remember. So I'm going to lay it out for you. Start with the phrase. Think of a quote or group that you can remember that's easy, something memorable. For example, there's no way I'm kissing a frog. Now write it down and just write down just the first letter of each word in the phrase. And here's the example here. Now you need to capitalize at least one or more of the letters. And again, your answer, if you were doing this, your answer would be different or it could be the same. Okay, but you need to capitalize at least one or more of the letters. The next step, you want to add 1 or 2 memorable numbers. Okay, I added number 44 here. You could also add symbols too. You could add an exclamation point, something like that. Next thing you do, 5, memorize it. Write it down, keep it written down, memorize it, memorize it, memorize it. Okay, and remember, only give your password to an adult or trustworthy adult or your parents. All right, it's your turn. Create your own phrase and turn it into a password. All right. So let's check your notes, check your mental notes, and complete each password tip by filling in the blank word. You're going to do this through the Ed puzzle. So start with a memorable phrase. Only your parents should know your password, or a trusted adult. Never use any private identity information in your password. Create passwords with at least 8 characters. Use letters, numbers, and symbols in your password. Hopefully you did really well. All right. And now that you know how to create safe and strong passwords and why it's important, I hope you have a wonderful and relaxing rest of your day. So nice work. And now it's time to relax and dream up some more passwords.